Today's podcast is brought to you by Chikara Wrestle Factory, 4711 Wingate Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where they specialize in lucha libre, porosu, European, British, and German styles, mixed martial arts, and American pro wrestling, all built into the curriculum at the Wrestle Factory, where they strive to create the most well-rounded performers active today. Hey yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out. Please click subscribe to show your support. Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. This episode, we have a lot of stuff to get to. There's rumors going on, all kinds of conversation in pro wrestling. It's been an insane day for the news. I'm going to get started with some of the lighter-hearted stuff and then we'll get into the deep stuff a little bit later. So let's get started with Hulk Hogan. You know, the relationship between Hulk Hogan and World Wrestling Entertainment has been well documented over the past several years. Hulk Hogan had said some relatively insensitive things, some horrible things behind the scenes in his private life, and unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective on things, Hulk Hogan was released from World Wrestling Entertainment, his Legends deal and whatnot, and has been gone from the company for quite some time. Rather than rehashing the past, we all know what he said. Things that should never be said. They have no place in a society in 2016, 17, or any time in the past. But at the end of the day, he said some horrible things, and it led to his short-term, at least, termination from the company. But now it looks like that there is a possibility that he may be working his way back into the fold. Hulk Hogan is going to be in Orlando, Florida when WrestleMania 33 takes place, and there has been tons of speculation as to whether or not he's going to make some kind of appearance. So now, if you go back several months, November time frame-ish, and his daughter Brooke had made comments about how he had been contacted for WrestleMania. Other people had speculated that no, this wasn't going to happen. Eric Bischoff on his podcast, he made it really clear that his opinion was there was no chance Hulk Hogan appears at WrestleMania 33. A long shot at best, I think, is the way he described it. Jim Ross has sounded off saying he also thinks that at some point Hulk Hogan will be reintroduced to the WWE Universe, but he doesn't think it'll be this soon. The Wrestling Observer had put out a piece where they had described that they felt that Hulk Hogan's relationship with WWE had gotten much better recently, and that his return to the company was going to be sooner rather than later, and that was back in January. So now you fast forward, we're in the middle of March, we're getting ready for WrestleMania season, or it is WrestleMania season. Hulk Hogan being in Orlando during the days of the event could be one of several things. First off, it could just be what it looks like on paper. Hulk Hogan is opening his Hogan's Beach shop. He's going to be there signing autographs. He's promoting, knowing that the area will be inundated with wrestling fans because of the big show only a few hours away. That is a distinct possibility. The flip side is, and this is where all the conspiracy theorists in the world of professional wrestling, there is a chance that since he is so close to the arena where WrestleMania will be being held, that he could end his signing session and still make it in time for the show. Now, if you look at the times that he's booked to be at the Hogan Beach shop, he has plenty of time after that wraps up to make it to the show. Especially with the show being 7 hours long this year. I don't know about you guys, but for me, a 7-hour WrestleMania, I love WrestleMania. I love WrestleMania season. I have seen every WrestleMania there is. I have been to countless WrestleManias in my lifetime, but I will tell you, I don't know if I really want to see 7 hours of WrestleMania when the booking has been as crazy and off-kilter as it's been in the last year or so. But to the Hulk Hogan point, Hulk Hogan could easily be a part of the show, but he did come out on Twitter and tried to clarify the situation. Hulk Hogan posted on Twitter, he currently has no plans of being at WrestleMania 33. Instead, he's going to be signing autographs at the Hogan Beach shop. It should be noted, even if he was going to appear in some type of a surprise situation, he would have to deny it. That's what you do when you try to maintain kayfabe. You know, you don't talk about these big pops, these big reactions that you anticipate getting when you appear for the first time in several years. I don't care where Hulk Hogan goes, what the audience is, what arena they're in, what venue, what things going on, what pay-per-view it is. If Hulk Hogan walks through a WWE curtain again, which I fully expect to happen at some point, he will get a monumental, enormous pop. And that has nothing to do with anything he said. It has to do with wrestling fans are very forgiving. Many fans have moved past all that stuff. And the fans just want to see their hero from when they were a child. The man is human. He makes mistakes. I'm willing to forgive and move on. That may be easier for me to say than others. But I want to give him an opportunity to reclaim his position at the top of the food chain in the wrestling industry, because I think after everything he's done for the business, I think he at least deserves that, a second chance. On the topic of WrestleMania, of course, that also means the Hall of Fame induction, and we talked earlier this week about how John Cena will be inducting Kurt Angle into the Hall of Fame. This one, though it's not the biggest announcement in the world, it's one for me that is very heartwarming for what some people may not even think about, but The APA, the Acolyte Protection Agency. I wonder how many people even remember that that's what APA stands for. They have been announced to be the inductors for Teddy Long's Hall of Fame induction. Now here's the thing. JBL inducting Teddy Long I think is fine because he's always had this great rapport, and his comments on Teddy Long have always been entertaining. So I have no problem with JBL being there. But the one that really is emotional for me to watch, because I really try to inundate myself with whoever's being inducted. I try to watch as much content material that features that person as I can. And I'm really happy for Teddy Long getting this induction. But for more than anything else, I love that Ron Simmons will be there to help be the one to put him into the Hall. And here's why. First off, Teddy Long's career. He's the man who counted the 3 count that gave Ricky Steamboat the World Championship victory over Ric Flair. He's the guy who led Doom, aka Hacksaw Butch Reed and Ron Simmons. He led them to the NWA World Tag Team Championship. They did the whole thing with the masks. They lost their masks to the Steiner. Teddy Long guided their career. They had killer feuds with the Horsemen. When Doom was over, Teddy Long was able to move on and transcend the sport in other ways. At one point, he was really involved with the Skyscrapers, which originally were Sid Vicious and Dan Spivey. Eventually it would become Dan Spivey and Mark Callis, which Mark Callis turned into The Undertaker. But the point is, Teddy Long has had a very detailed history, and it's been everlasting. Even within the last year, him appearing on Raw the one night, acting like he was a guest commissioner for the evening or whatever, was still fun to watch Teddy Long perform. Whether he was a referee, a manager, a GM of SmackDown, doing his little silly bits on Raw, whatever it is, him trying to get busy with half the female locker room throughout the years, he's always entertaining. And to see someone like Butch Reed and Ron Simmons, whose careers really took off with him, to see the people like the Skyscrapers, whose careers took off after him, to see what his impact was on SmackDown in a period where SmackDown's viewership was down quite a bit, and he started to help be a part of that change where they started to get popular again. Very happy for Teddy Long, and I'm glad to see that Ron Simmons, someone who's been there for the better part of the journey, is going to be one of the people putting him in. So congratulations to Teddy Long. On the topic of WWE history, one of their former world champions, Rob Van Dam, apparently there's some potential for him to return this year to the ring. He was doing a whole question and answer thing on Twitter, and part of it came up the question of, when are we going to see you back in the WWE ring? And Rob Van Dam had a few comments on the matter, but one of the things he said is that more information soon, more info soon. So it looks like he may be ready to return to the ring. They made reference of July and August and things like that. So we'll have to keep our eye on when he comes back. But I would be thoroughly surprised if he didn't make at least one more return to the company. I don't know that he's ever going to work a full-time schedule again, especially at his age. But it's always great to see an established veteran like Rob Van Dam, like Chris Jericho, people like that come in and contribute on a high level. If WWE opens the doors to Rob Van Dam, as a fan, I would love to see him come back and have some matches with people that he has just never had a match with, especially in the WWE ring. There are some people he's had matches with in TNA and other places, but not in front of the WWE crowd. So that's something for me to look forward to, and the rest of us to really anticipate coming up in the next few months. The New Japan Cup, we've talked about some of their preliminary rounds, earlier podcast episodes, and we are now see that the semifinals are set. The semifinals are going to take place tomorrow night, Sunday evening in Japan at what would be 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Pacific, from the Hamamatsu Japan Auditorium. The semifinals are going to feature Evil versus Bad Luck Fale and Tomohiro Ishii versus Katsuyori Shibata. Now, the reality is, it really doesn't matter which one of these 4 people comes out as the winner of the tournament. All 4 have really now been established as main event top draws for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is a huge thing considering the fact that for the last couple years, it's all been Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi, people like that. It's nice to see them develop some younger, established guys and really give them the premium exposure they need to be the next wave in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've always put out amazing matches. They've always had incredible talent, but this is an opportunity for for that talent quality to maintain itself for a longer period of time. Bad Luck Fale, for those who don't know who he is, he's a member of the Bullet Club. I'm actually somewhat encouraged to see him win the whole thing. I don't expect it. I've said it earlier that I think that Evil and Ishii will be in the finals, but if Fale somehow was booked to win this thing, I would love to see somebody who's been with the Bullet Club since pretty much the beginning rise up and become the real face of the club. This rotation of the leader is kind of, I love the different people who've been there, but you went from, Prince Devitt, also known as Finn Balor, to AJ Styles. Now you have Kenny Omega, and it's all these gaijin, these guys jumping in there and leading the Bullet Club, and I get why they did that at first, but I would love to see Bad Luck Fale, somebody who's been there from the beginning, let him take the leadership role. I would like to see what he would do with it. I'm going to get to a more frustrating topic today. I've gotten questions, emails, comments about the Paige, Brad Maddox, and Xavier Woods situation. I write a column for tsjsports.com if you want to see more information that I write about, and several of my coworkers write about. TSJ Sports is a great venue to go get some of the news from various sports around the country. I was asked to do a piece on this debacle with Paige, Brad Maddox, and Xavier Woods, and I declined to do that. And here's the thing. I've gotten a lot of flack from that, and I've had people asking me today why I won't put this piece of journalism out there. Here's the thing. I understand being a journalist. I also understand human emotion, and I understand privacy. To me, this whole situation, for those who don't know, there were some pictures and videos of Paige, Brad Maddox, and Xavier Woods that were leaked online without their consent that were of a more adult nature. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm one of those people, I really don't care to lend any more credence to this than it already has had. But when I turn on the internet and I see that it's one of the number one trending things in the news, for me, that's a little bit of a problem. Because I understand that Paige is a superstar, and Brad Maddox and Xavier Woods, more Xavier Woods than Brad Maddox, are superstars, so people are curious about what's going on in their world, but this was an invasion of privacy, okay? This was a release of something that was never intended for the general public's view, and now her character and her credibility, same thing with Xavier Woods, is being called into question for things that have nothing to do with anybody's business. What Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox and Paige and any other celebrity or superstar does in their private life is their business. And the people who are complaining, a lot of the videos have been taken off the internet, thankfully. And there are people who are complaining about that. Well, I don't think those people would want their private lives broadcast to the world. And unlike when one of the comments that I get repeatedly about this in the last day or two has been, well, you're a celebrity. You're going to be under a microscope. You have to accept that that's part of your role. No, that's part of your role is when you walk through an airport and kids run up to you for an autograph. Or you go into a hotel and somebody comes up to you for an autograph. Or you go out to another venue to eat dinner, or you go to a sporting event. You know you're in the public eye. You should at least give a head shake and a handshake or a nod or a high five or something to the people who pay the salary, who put butts in seats so that you have a job. What you do not owe anybody is an explanation for what you do behind closed doors. That's your private life. I feel bad for Paige, for Brad Maddox, and for Xavier Woods because none of the three of them deserve to be chastised by the public right now for something that was in their private life. Xavier Woods is one of the most successful wrestlers on one of the most successful tag teams of the last 20 years. And in the whole time that I've been watching the New Day perform, I have been wanting for WrestleMania for them to be featured in a more prominent role. I'm begging for this dream match with the Hardys. And now there's conversation that the New Day may not even be included on Raw this week, 2 weeks away from WrestleMania because of this situation. It's ludicrous. Paige doesn't deserve the exposure. Brad Maddox and Xavier Woods don't deserve any kind of insult to their credibility all over someone being disgusting, hacking into their private accounts and stealing their information. And I know that I have listeners to the podcast who are both with me and some who are against me. If you are someone who is just dying to find those materials, I wish you had something better to do with your time. At the end of the day, it's focusing on those types of things that cause division between people to begin with. Right to privacy. It's a constitutional right. I hope they find out who did it, and I hope they sue them for every penny they can get out of them. And that's why I'm not doing a published article about this topic. I think it's horrible, and I think people should leave these three people alone. I'm going to move on from there. It's the first time in the history of this podcast where I think I've ever shown any frustration of any kind, so I hope we can move past that because my loyal listeners, you guys mean the world to me, and I try to bring you not only entertainment, but I want you to bring you real information, and I don't work anything. Everything I do is a shoot. Okay, it's my opinions or opinions I found online that I agree with, and I hope you can respect that. And you don't have to agree with me. I'm completely okay if you don't agree with me. I just appreciate if people can. I'm not going to trash your opinion if you don't trash mine. Okay, that's just the way it needs to be. Moving on, we're going to talk some independent news. Okay, so more often than not, the podcasts that people find and they listen to are always focused on WWE news, TNA issues, Ring of Honor or New Japan partnerships. We miss out on a large segment of the wrestling action around the world. One of the best parts about being a hardcore, die-hard pro wrestling fan like I am is that I seek out new material all the time. You know, starting with this episode, I want to try to put together something new, a relatively newer segment for you, for the devoted, absolute hardcore rabid fans like myself, the people who would love to see every bit of professional wrestling action they can from anywhere around the world. This segment I'm going to start tonight with 3 promotions. For all you diehard fans out there who want to look for more wrestling action, I have 3 places I want you to check into. First off, coming from down under in Australia, Explosive Pro Wrestling. This is an organization that puts on a great quality show. And I want you to go onto YouTube and look up Grey, Grey versus Storm EPW title. And when you do that, you're going to see there's like a promo for a show that's coming up where these two are going to meet for their championship. But you get a glimpse at their entire roster. You get a glimpse of their production value. And I'd put their production value on par with Ring of Honor. I really would. It's got a very similar look to it. So if you've never seen Explosive Pro Wrestling, by all means, go check that out. Grey vs. Storm EPW title. The next one is Africa Wrestling Alliance, AWA. Now, AWA, they have a whole website devoted to their promotion. If you looked at their website, you would think it's a premier corporation. What I would like for you to do, again, for each one of these, I will give you the name of the company and then a YouTube link to go check out. For Africa Wrestling Alliance, go to AWA House of Pain trailer and check that out, because what you're going to see there is a whole montage of their wrestling talent. They seem to focus on one person in particular quite often. You'll figure that out when you watch the video. That's the only person who's carrying a championship belt for a good part of the video. But check that out, because again, it's a totally different style. It's a different presentation. The production value is not on par with the Explosive Pro Wrestling. It's a little different. It's a very different flavor to how they wrestle. One of the things I love is at the end of the trailer, you see their real premium star comes out with a chair, and it's not like a folding chair like WWE uses. This is a chair like you'd find in like a classroom, a fully molded chair, and he just waffles a guy over the back with it. And that has to hurt. Unlike some of the folding chairs that you could probably get away with putting your arms up and blocking some, this dude really lays this guy out. So by all means, check out Africa Wrestling Alliance for some more incredible wrestling action. And the last one for the night, Israeli Pro Wrestling Association, IPWA. As you can tell from the name, they're in Israel, and one of the matches you can find online right now, if you do a YouTube search, Tatanka, that's right, Native American Tatanka versus Rabbi Suisa. And if you check out this match, it is, Tatanka's not the same Tatanka he was a few years ago, but he still puts on an entertaining match. This is a championship match for IPWA. By all means, check it out. Watch the whole match too, because there's a lot of things going on there that I think American wrestling fans don't necessarily understand or appreciate. What I mean by that is, look at the crowd. Look at where they're wrestling. Look at the quality of the ring. It's a very different style of ring. There's some bumps on the mat and things like that. In the background, you can see scaffolding and things. It's just got a very different presentation. But at the end of the day, the fans are very hype for this match. They enjoy the match just like an American audience would. Tatanka bringing an American style to the match. You get this other wrestler, Rabbi Suisa, is, he's a little smaller than Tatanka, but he puts on a good fight. It's a great match. So by all means, check that out. If you are somebody like me who really enjoys some of these more obscure or less known about promotions, check that out. And I'm going to try to throw a new one at you every time I can in these episodes. Today in pro wrestling history, we got 36 years ago, the Moondogs, Rex and King, defeat Tony Garea and Rick Martel for the WWF Tag Team Championship. The thing with that is King would actually leave a short time after that and be replaced by Spot because he couldn't get back into the country after he left and went to Canada. Some issues with the visa, but still, Moondogs, some people always thought they were just a jobber tag team. They actually won the Tag Team Championship from Tony Garea and Rick Martel. 24 years ago, Vader, then known as Big Van Vader, defeats Sting for the WCW title over in Europe. 17 years ago, one of my more enjoyable things is that the documentary Beyond the Mat debuted in the theaters. I had to watch that as soon as it came out. Now, years later, I found out a lot of it's BS, but at the end of the day, very cool documentary when you're younger and you watch that. And for those who've never seen it, Noelle Foley, who's now on Holy Foley, is on there as like a 6-7-year-old girl. So check that out. You see how far people come. 15 years ago, The Rock defeats Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania X8 at the Sky Dome in Toronto, Canada. That's where Hogan had his flip back to being a good guy, and the NWO was not happy about it, and The Rock and Hogan had to fight him off in the end. But probably the match of the night, and probably one of the best WrestleMania matches in a good chunk of time at that point. 4 years ago, Kurt Angle defeats Samoa Joe at TNA One Night Only 10. It's coincidental that happened then, and now we've got Kurt Angle coming back to WWE, and Samoa Joe is a premier talent in WWE at this time, so funny how the timing of these things tends to work out here and there. 32 years ago, Ivan and Nikita Koloff defeat Manny Fernandez and Dusty Rhodes for the NWA World Tag Team Championship. Man, a lot of people don't even remember Manny Fernandez and Dusty Rhodes were tag team champions, but they remember Ivan and Nikita. Ivan and Nikita had classic tag team matches with the Road Warriors. They were a big part of bringing the Road Warriors from the AWA to the NWA, and then they ended up losing the tag team championship to the Rock and Roll Express, really launching their career to what would eventually become, as you know, WWE Hall of Fame inductions. 16 years ago, WCW presents their last ever pay-per-view, Greed, featuring Scott Steiner defeating Diamond Dallas Page to retain the WCW title. 15 years ago, big one here, Brock Lesnar makes his debut on Raw, his main roster debut. 4 years ago, Steve Austin launched his Stone Cold podcast. Doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has already been 4 years. Congrats to Steve Austin. And happy 91st birthday to commentator Lance Russell, who was the voice of wrestling in various promotions throughout his career. Really just a phenomenal talent. If you're a huge fan of Jim Ross and Gordon Soley and people like that, Lance Russell is right on par with those guys. And if you haven't heard his work, go back and look up some matches from the 80s, and you'll see, especially in the Memphis area, you'll see just how amazing his talent was. Today's look back match on YouTube, Kerry Von Erich versus Sid Vicious. Go to YouTube, check that out. A lot of people don't even realize Kerry Von Erich and Sid Vicious ever even got in the ring together. Good match, back and forth, solid, kind of a schmaz ending because he didn't want to hurt either one of their characters, but very cool to see these two get in the ring for a match that a lot of people, like I said, had no idea even took place. We got our fantasy booking part right now, and here are our two matches. Remember, 64-man single elimination tournament. Your votes move people into the next round, and tonight matches 23 and 24. Here is Hulk Hogan versus Roman Reigns, and EC3, Ethan Carter III versus Dolph Ziggler. So, in the comment section on YouTube, give me your thoughts on who would win those two matches so I can move your choices on to the next round. Today's YouTube fan poll. Who is the most impactful wrestling family? Would you choose the Hart family or the Von Erichs? Speaking of Kerry Von Erich. The Hart family or the Von Erichs? More influential, more impactful for the wrestling community. Please give us a review, give us a subscribe if you are an everyday listener. We really need those things to help spread the word of our podcast. Please don't forget about the Fro Life Planning Contest going on right now. For those who don't know what Fro Life Planning is, we help students and adult learners find their path to higher education or to that new career. Every month we give away one free 30-minute one-on-one phone consultation to a lucky winner to help them plan their new career path or their way to get into higher education, college or university. There's no purchase necessary. You have to do a couple things. One, launch iTunes in your computer, open up the Fro Wrestling Podcast page, click on subscribe, and then give us a rating or a review. When you do that, pop over to our webpage. Go to www.frolifeplanning.com/contest, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of those consultations. So I can try to help you guys get further in whatever your plan is, whether that's college, whether it's a career, a job, career technical school, whatever it is. We want to be a part of the solution in finding that next step for you. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us in episode 48, where we're going to review all the happenings in the world of wrestling. Special thanks, as always, to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects used in today's show. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to www.thegamecrafter.com/sketchypeople to pick up your copy today. And to AlleyRepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all of your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. We want to thank you for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you, as always, to go to our website at www.frolifeplanning.com to learn more about what Mr. Fro can do for you on your path to higher education. Remember, Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsjsports.com/WWE for my latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until next episode, everybody, take care and be safe.